Morning, everybody. It's Michelle, and it's Friday. Friday. Just put out the trash, which a lot of people hate to do for some reason. I don't know why. Why would you want to have that hanging around? And I think that's like kind of will make sense because it has a little bit of a meaning to what I'm about to say. A lot of us don't like to put out the trash. We just like to hold on and hold on and hold on. And that's what beliefs are. I'm gonna keep talking about it because I want you to understand the seriousness of holding on to beliefs. uh, One of my favorite movies, growing up, was the Ten Commandments. And that was a powerful movie. It just had a lot of uh, moving pieces in that movie. There was a lot going on. And I was impressed with the visuals of it. The visuals were outstanding to me, especially for that period of time and when that movie was done. It just seemed I had not seen anything so vivid and so rich in color. I mean, because we watched it on when it was in color. It may have started out black and white, but I'm not sure. As a young girl, and that was around the time of Easter. Everybody seems to there was like a uh, people were coming out, I guess, coming out of cool seasons and going into the spring or Easter and this and that and the other. So there was a difference in how people were acting, especially around the black culture. It just seemed everybody was excited because they knew they had to be going to church at some point and wearing. For me, the clothing was uncomfortable, and I hated what my mom was dressing me. How my mom was dressing me, I hated it, and then she just kept going on and on and on about it. And I mean, I'm just telling you, that was I hated that time being dressed and wearing dresses and carrying on. Woo! But anyway, I made it through. But I remember watching that movie and and all the series of events that happened. And if you remember that character, Moses, the strength and all that stuff he had. And more so, what I since because I was a visual person, I was paying more attention to what he was doing more so than what he was saying. You know, I that's how I used to process the world. I paid attention to what people were doing more so than what they were saying. And I remember every time in that movie, Moses was always standing up. You know what I mean? He wasn't down begging. I don't ever remember him being on his knees begging. Um, I don't ever remember him even praying and looking up and kind of in a desperate. He was always so confident to me. He was a confident man, and I remember his strength as he would walk, and people having so much respect for him, and and would and also put a lot of expectations on him as well. But he endured, right? As I remember in the movie, I hadn't seen it. I didn't. So the thing about me, man, I saw that movie once, I think, when I was a little girl, and I don't know if I watched it again. I may have watched bits and pieces of it because, like I said, it's a powerful movie actually. But I remember seeing that movie once, and I was like, it impacted my life at that moment. And so, and that's how things are. I'll see something, and it impacts my life that moment, and usually I don't have to necessarily go through a movie again. Just like I told you about Disney, I remember my family going to Disney together. We had the fantastic time. There was a friend there that I later saw in high school. Blah blah blah. I told you about that video, which I had a validation from somebody that saw me. They saw me, and that was the name of the video. I think uh, they saw me or something like that. But like I said, Moses, uh, the portrayal of Moses was he was always standing up. Okay, I don't ever remember him being uh, on his knees at all, begging at all. And I think if you look at that movie again in a kind of an open mindedness, you know, don't pay so much attention to what he's saying or doing. I mean, what he's saying. Watch what he does throughout that whole movie. He worked hard. The women loved him, didn't they? Um, and he always had a vision. He was a visionary, and his eyes were always usually focused. And he always had a plan, not necessarily a plan. See, I want to get away from words we use that some of the words we use have lost the meaning. But anyway, he always portrayed the strength. He was always standing up. Okay, and so if you remember when he went away and he got when he was there in the presence of energy, if you remember that, there was no physical form of anybody there. He was looking forward and he saw what? Okay, did he see a man? Did he see a woman? He saw a swirling of energy. And I told you, and we agreed that that's what God is, energy, creational energy. Okay, and you remember, when he got his information, it can you know how the movie goes, and you can watch the movie and then get more of how your perception of it again when you watch it and watch what people are doing. Try to put yourself in the visuals, in my shoes as a visionary type, to see something like that. All right, so this is my point about praying, and how praying is potentially blocking your information. The fact that you're on your knees and you're begging and you're talking and you're pleading, you're probably missing the answer that is right there in front of you. Because you're on your knees, and usually people are wailing and their eyes are closed. They're not paying attention to that swirling of energy can be right there. And the thing about with Moses, he was silent. Right? He was silent. And then the information came to him. And that's what I mean by sensing and receiving. And with meditation, where there's no thought to it, you need to suspend your thoughts as best you can, as gently as you can, and listen for the information. Sense and receive it. But if you're going and going and going and pleading and begging and talking and talking and talking and saying the same things day after day after day after day, I can guarantee it. You missed the alignment, as I always said, because everybody has an alignment or a revelation. Okay, if you want to say all of that, or a opening, an opportunity, but we keep blocking everything because we keep talking. Most of the time it's because we're talking and praying, because even some visionaries pray, auditories pray, and people in their feelings pray. And what I mean by praying, you're on your knees usually, and you're saying a series of words, and your eyes are closed, and you've been doing this for decades. Some people, decades and decades, and chances are you've missed your alignment. I told you about how like I said, I'm a visionary person, and I can see something once. Okay, and I know, okay, that's it. And that's how it's been. But now what's differently is as I meditated so much over the course of decades, I don't necessarily need to see anything, because that becomes dangerous, and it's a target. If people know that you're a visionary, what are they gonna do? They're gonna try to blind you. If they know that you are auditory, what are they gonna try to do? Make you deaf and blind. You heard that term. Or, kind of silence your voice in some kind of way. And that's symbolically and, literally silence your voice. I lost my voice early on at a period of time for almost 2 to 3 months. And, it was weird, but I still got through things. And that was probably something as well to tell me, just be silent, be more silent. And I did. And the reason why I see that as something impactful, because when on my previous job, all I was doing was talking to people, running the radios. I used to work in I told you, law enforcement. there was something always in my ear. I'm always talking to people. In that job, there was no time for silence sometimes, because we were always so, well, we were programmed. Okay, we were programmed by the constant alert tones. Those things are brainwashing, and you know the alert tones on, because we used to wear radios. The alert tone in the ear, the constant sound and noise, that sirens of fire and rescue, which I don't understand why they necessarily need to use the sirens, because nobody's listening to them, and they should ought to know that as well. I think they need to silence those alarms in a way. Those people pay attention to lights, and usually, and my point is, we just don't like to change and look for something better. But I'm telling you, we're gonna have to silence. We need to silence all of this noise, because we're missing opportunities. We're missing alignments because of that. Okay, either, like I said, with the praying. But so my point is, watch the movie again, like I said, but not, and pay attention, not so much to what people are, and try to, if you want to turn down the volume and watch it. A lot of people may not want to do that, because if you're not accustomed to watching something without volume, that may bother you, and I think it may bother auditories, but consider it. Or go to the moment where Moses was, received the Ten Commandments or whatever. So yes, so I can guarantee you a lot of people have missed their alignment, missed their message, their information, because of all this chattering and begging and pleading on your knees, and with your eyes closed, begging and pleading and talking, and not realizing it. The answer is right there, because you're going to get it. You're not going to get it in physical form per se. I mean, like I said, help may come to you in physical form. That's how help comes to you. It has to come to you in physical. Everything has to come to you in a physical form, because we're physical right now. Okay, a lot of people don't know what to do with energy because it's invisible. It's obvious we don't know what to do with energy. If we did, we would have handled energy a lot better than we did. We wouldn't have created bombs, nuclear bombs, and dropping them on innocent people if we understood that. So it's obvious we don't understand anything about energy. But for someone to help you, they usually come in physical. Okay, and so just consider something differently. Just do it for a little while. Just do it until Easter, and when Easter comes back, if you want to go back to those traditional things, you can. But you're supposed to be elevating. Is my point. We're not in the times of Moses, are we? But but some people are reversing themselves, and eventually you will be back in those rough times. Those times were rough, weren't they? Those people had no land, nowhere to go, no shelter, barely anything to eat. And is that where you want to head back to? Because some people are, and some people will be living as such. And I call that the planet one, the symbolic planet one, where you're barely surviving. And you don't know who's coming to help you, and you're in a desert. And where millions of people possibly who died attempting to get to where they are trying to get to. So we're gonna have to, like I said, elevate our thoughts. Because yes, you will end up in that period of time. And is that where you want to go? In the period of Moses? Or do you want to advance out of that? So again, just watch it again. I don't have to, because like I said, I just remember things like that. When something's impactful to me, okay, I remember it. And I remember, that's why I remember faces more so than names. I don't remember names. I'm sorry. Not at all. I'm terrible with names, but I remember a person's face. I remember a person's eyes. And the thing is, thankfully, I saw the things I needed to see before all this technology stepped in and started interfering with that. Because now you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if you're talking to a deep fake or even a real person, an android, avatar or a AI, you know, because that's what's taking over now. Okay, it's taking over. So keep that in mind. So, yeah, so just consider something different. Consider something different, and no one has to know. You don't have to share that with anybody. Because when I used to do things, I didn't say too much to people that were of a certain situation, whether they were religious. Because I'm not religious, but I have a lot of compassion and empathy for everyone, however they choose to represent themselves. Because that's irrelevant anyway. It's in what you're doing and your behavior, right? It's not somebody's coming along and say, "I'm a Christian." Okay, so what does that mean? How does a Christian act and behave? That's what I look at. I can care less whether you call yourself a whatever you call yourselves, because we get stuck on that as well. Our titles and labels. All right, so that's something to consider. To help people along. Like I said, we're gonna have to silence ourselves. We have to silence ourselves. Now, if you still want to be on your knees, fine, be on your knees, but be in silence. Otherwise, you're gonna miss the information if you're talking and praying. Okay, do yourself a favor, just sit in a chair and be comfortable. And make sure when you're sitting in a chair, if you don't want to meditate, fine. I know a lot of people don't want to do that. That's fine. Just make sure if you are, make sure you are facing south. That's all. If you're gonna sit in a chair where you normally praise, get off your knees. But if you want to stay there, fine, stay there. As long as you're facing south. Just that's the main thing about any of it. Okay, I say if you're talking and praying and stuff like that, and just because a lot of people do it in rapid successions and their eyes are closed, and you're missing it. Okay, remember he got it from a source of energy. It wasn't a physical form, right? All right, so I just want something for everyone to consider. Hey, I always say this is my theories and opinions for entertainment for entertainment purpose. I can't talk today. But it's not anything to take so seriously. It's just entertainment purposes for people to start enjoying yourselves and letting yourself go and letting your hair down and enjoy the moments and not be so strict and uptight about your convictions, your beliefs. Okay? So that's all. I just want to help. Peace and love, everybody. And trust me, I'll be back.